So hello and welcome to my masterclass, The Power of Visualization. And this is one of my favorite topics as well. I love visualization, but I want to talk about what it really means because I think a lot of people think about it as this neat idea. And what it means is that whatever is the blueprint, the image, the association of something in your mind, it's working to make real. So a lot of us tend to hear about these studies. There was one that was really popular a couple of years ago. It was called the milkshake study. By some people, it was referred to as mind over milkshakes. And what they did is they split people into groups and they gave them milkshakes. And one group, they told them that they were having a milkshake. And the other group, they told them that they were having a delicious, nutritious, healthy smoothie. And what was amazing is that the bodies of both groups responded as though they were having what they were told they were have rather than what they were actually having. And we also hear a lot of stories, a lot of studies about things like athletic performance or piano, and they'll split people into three groups and they'll have one group actually practice, one group visualize practicing, and one group do nothing. And always the group that visualizes, it's usually, depending on the study, somewhere between 30 and 60% improvement as to those that were actually practicing. And it's so powerful, the placebo effect is so powerful that every single drug study has to account for it because really there is no drug more powerful than your mind. And so we kind of know all of this. We know this stuff's out there. We hear about it. We hear about athletes using visualization. Most of us know about the placebo effect. But what tends to happen is we kind of just go, oh, that's neat. That's a neat thing. That's something that I could use, if I wanted to. Maybe I can use it here. Maybe I do some manifesting. Maybe one day I make a vision board. But other than that, it's just kind of something that's out there that I'm not really thinking about. But the truth is, this isn't something that you can turn off. This is literally how your mind is wired. So this is happening all the time. Your mind is always trying to take the blueprint, the association in your mind, and make it real. And I think somewhere to come back to, because a lot of us will think about words or language when we think about this, but really we learn the visuals, we learn the pictures first, and our mind loves words that make a picture. And then we add words to them, right? So when you're a kid or a little baby or a young child, you see a dog, you see a bottle, you see whatever the thing is, and then you learn the word for it. So very much the words are attached to the pictures that are already in our mind, and in there is an association with things. So I'll give you an example. So many of us, if you were to close your eyes and relax and just hear the word money, for many of us, there's a negative feeling, a negative association there. Maybe the first place your mind goes is debt. Maybe the first place it goes is bills. Maybe the first place it goes is stress. And so there's already a picture, a blueprint, a visualization there, if you will, that your mind is working to make your reality, working to move you towards. It's almost like your mind is constantly asking, how can I make whatever's in your mind real? It's kind of like your mind has its own plan that's not necessarily what you want. And the mind is going, how can I make this real? How can I make that happen? And you might wonder, if I didn't write this blueprint, if I didn't create this association, where did it come from? A lot of it comes from when we're growing up. If you have a parent when you're young that says, we can't afford that. What do you think? Money grows on trees. Or, if you have a parent or someone around you that hates exercising or use chores as punishment, that's another big one. Many of us were punished to having to do chores like the dishwasher and cleaning our house. And I see that in so many clients become young adults that don't like doing stuff like that because they have this negative association attached to that image, to that visual. And of course, the mind is always saying, how can I make this true? How can I make this real? And the great thing about this, it can be a blessing and a curse, is that the mind doesn't know the difference between what's actually happening and what you're visualizing. And you can look at any person with anxiety. We've all experienced this, maybe someone sends you a short text, or maybe your boss is really short with you and you start going, oh no, they're mad at me and this is happening and that's happening. And maybe they found out about this and maybe they're mad I didn't do that. And this is how I'm going to respond. And if they yell at me, then I'll do this. And basically what you're doing is you're visualizing, imagining this whole scenario that's not happened. But we all know in that situation, we get racing thoughts, our heartbeat starts to increase. We feel stressed because it doesn't matter that it's happening in our mind. To us, it's actually happening. Our mind literally doesn't know the difference between what's happening and what we're imagining or what we're visualizing. And something that I said, or something that I was listening to Andrew Huberman talk about the other day, which I love, is he was saying, your mind is encased in your body and it needs inputs, and it gets inputs through your skin, through what you taste, through what you see, through what you hear, through what you smell. And so your mind really needs these inputs to interpret the world around you. But it doesn't really matter if the inputs come from the outer world or your inner world. So realizing that inner world, that world of what we feel, what we think, what we associate things with, is just as powerful, is just as real. And I see this with so many clients. I think one of the most obvious places is when clients have kind of a negative relationship blueprint. They had a critical parent or an alcoholic parent, and that kind of person is so familiar to them. They have this blueprint in their mind, and the mind is going, how can I move you towards that? How can I make that real? So many people that have that experience growing up end up in partnerships that are so similar to what they experienced when they were young. So I think that first thing that I want you to really think about, really reflect on, is this realization that it's not like I'm not visualizing and then this is something I can do. Your mind already holds these associations, these blueprints, and it's already manipulating your environment. It's already changing the way you perceive things. It's already affecting you based on what is already there. So it's not just about, I want to go to this goal, so I'm going to use visualization. It's let's undo some of these old visualizations and let's get excited about some of the things we are going to move towards and what we actually want. So how do we start with this? The first step is to become aware. So if we don't know what we don't know, and we can't really do anything about what we don't know. So the first thing is to realize that we do carry these blueprints. We do carry these associations, and we can reprogram them. And it starts with that awareness. And you might think, I'm an adult now, and so I don't really believe that stuff my mom told me when I was a kid. But you see, our mind doesn't update. We sort of, things go in and then we carry them. And unless we intentionally update our mind, they kind of just stick with us. And I had this amazing client recently, and she had dyslexia. And when we were in her session, I did an RTT session with her, which is hypnosis, if you don't know, very specialized kind of hypnosis. And she had this feeling like, I have this deep, dark secret that I'm hiding from everyone, because when she was young, that dyslexia was this huge secret that she was terrified of anyone finding out about. And she still had this feeling, I have this secret, I have to hide it from the world. It's like I'm an imposter. If people find out, they'll realize that I'm not good. And I asked her, does everyone in your life know? And she goes, oh yeah, my husband knows, and everybody, I'm totally open about it now. Like, everybody in my life knows that I have this. And I said, okay, so what's the big secret? And she was just silent. And she was just like, you just got to give me a minute. I got to think about it. And I was like, if you have to think about it, if you don't know what it is, there's no secret, because it doesn't make sense, right? The thing that you were hiding when you were young, everyone knows now. So there's no secret. And it was just this, oh my God, because she's carried that feeling of, I'm hiding this secret for such a long time, even though it's not even true. And so you see, our minds don't update. They don't automatically go, oh, I'm an adult now. I don't believe what my mom said about money. I don't believe that chores are a punishment I'm choosing. I don't believe that I can't have the things that I want. We just carry that feeling, and that feeling really will shape our lives. So step one is becoming aware through self-observation and self-reflection. So you can even ask yourself, what's something that you want in your life? I always like to break things down into 4 categories, because I find generally people want something in one of these 4 categories. So I always look at health, wealth, love, and happiness. And you might immediately hear one of those words and know there's something from one of those categories that you want. So you would start by thinking, okay, what do I want in health? Maybe it's to eat better. Maybe it's more energy. Maybe it's better sleep. Maybe it's you want more money. You want to get out of debt. You want better financial habits. You think about what that is, and then you really take a moment and reflect on, how do I really feel about this? If I say the word, if I say what I want, what has been my relationship in the past? And then you can start to ask why. So for example, if you feel that anxiety, and this used to be me, that anxiety around money, that anxiety around finances, you go, why? Where did this come from? And you can kind of start to tease it out, Oh, my mom was always stressed about money when I was a kid. Oh, when I was 20, and this happened in Canada where I live all the time. I remember being at work, and all of these people that I worked with had all gotten this same letter from the CRA, and it was that they were all young adults, and basically everybody owed all this money in taxes, and they didn't even know how to do their taxes, and it was this big stress. And I think I was the youngest one there, and I remember just being like, "Whoa, what is this?" And so, it's this sequence of events that creates this association with whatever the thing is. And then you can be, happy, successful self trying to get to the next level of your career, trying to get to the next level of fitness, trying to find a great relationship. But your mind has this blueprint, this association that's holding you back, this feeling even from the past. And if you don't stop and ask, where did that come from? What is this? It can be something that's always holding you back, always fighting against you. And I see so many people in the business world, and so many people as well, because I used to be in the creative world as a choreographer and a dancer. So many people have this negative self-talk, this limiting belief, I'm not good enough, this feeling. And so many clients will go back to scenes or stories where they're kind of diminished. And I mean, that was a really big thing when we were younger. People thought if they said, oh, you're not good enough, look at Susie, you need to be like Susie, that would motivate you somehow and make you want to be better, right? It's like parents that say, you got an A, or you got 90, or you get a 90%, and they go, where's the A plus? Where's the 100%? I've had clients that get 99% on a test, and the parent just says, where's that last percent? And of course, we know now that this is just so diminishing for people. And, some people can be motivated through that, but for most people, it either gives them a complex or it just shatters their self-esteem. And just like that woman who carried that feeling of having a secret her whole life with the dyslexia, so many of us carry this feeling of, I'm not good enough, I can't do that. And you could be, an award-winning choreographer with all of these championship titles on the stage, or you could be an amazing business person who, gets accolades all the time and is financially successful. But if you have this deep, deep, deep association with, I'm not good enough, or I can never have that, then no matter how much proof there is in your environment, it will never quite feel like enough, because you're stuck with that old pattern, that old feeling. And so the second part, asking why, trying to tease out where this can come from. Now, I should say that there is a depth that you kind of can't get to on your own, and that's why I do RTT, because I think it is the most amazing tool for this. However, there is a lot you can do yourself. And I think that for the best kind of life result, we should all be trying to figure out as much of this stuff as we can on our own, and then maybe seeking help from a professional if there's something blocked. And one of the best things is when clients come to me and they're like, I've worked on this, they just can't get through this thing. And what is it? I don't know. And it's almost like you can hear that they're running into this blind spot, this shadow. They don't know what it is. But you can RTT someone, or you can do that deep work with someone. And if they're not consciously also sifting through this, if they're not consciously re-examining their own beliefs, their own thoughts, then that's not a great situation to be in either, because, ultimately no one else is going to rescue you. You have the choice to be run by your mind or choose to run your mind. So there's a lot that you can figure out on your own. And once you understand how, you can, come up with insights and make shifts on a daily, weekly, monthly basis once you understand. And so once you've kind of done that self-reflection and figured out maybe why this came in and where this came from, and you don't absolutely have to figure out where it came from, but it is really helpful because the next step is reframing. And I always like to think of there being two parts to reframing. And so those two parts would be, you would describe why it isn't and what actually is. So, in the case of that choreographer, you might say, I am not that little girl who was told I couldn't be a ballet dancer because I didn't have the right body. I am not that little kid that was getting compared to Susie. I am actually this award-winning person. And if I look at all this proof in my life, that actually is true. And it might sound simple, but consciously choosing to take that almost flashlight of your focus that's left in the past and bringing it to the future and going, no, this is what's real. This is what's true. This is what is. I'm choosing to focus on this. I'm choosing to let it in, just like someone who grew up and was always told, like, you can't afford things. Money is evil. Money doesn't grow on trees. You can never have that. Go, actually, my mom was wired for scarcity and she had really limiting beliefs about money, and that's not my truth. And actually, I love, wealth. I love having enough to share with other people. I love helping people. I love having nice things. And actually, this stress around money is making me avoid, learning about more investing or other things that could help me be even more often successful. And so I'm choosing to focus on the good. This is who I am now. Describe who you are now and describe why that from the past isn't you. And then the last step is to reinforce it, to absolutely bombard, saturate your mind with the new. I love things like vision boards, future self journaling. You can even do a meditation and look at it. But basically, you want to bombard, saturate your mind with the new. And you can do that in so many different ways, but you kind of have to think, right? If your patterned way of being is this from the past, then understanding what's going on in the shift is one step. But then you've got to really, really get clear on that new future. So I like to say the mind is incredibly habitual. So if you don't have a future self vision that you're working towards, the mind will just keep recreating yesterday over and over and over. And so many of my clients feel like that. They'll feel like even though they're moving forward in their life, they're kind of feel like they're living the same day or the same cycle on a loop. And so getting really clear about that future that you're moving towards and then bombarding yourself with it, saturating, if you can make that more real for yourself than the past, then there's absolutely nothing that you're going to move towards except for that. And I do want to say, because I think people, especially when we get into the world of manifesting, and like I said in one of my videos, they love manifesting, but I think people think sometimes that manifesting is, just making this board and sitting on the couch and manifesting $1 million. And it kind of is and it isn't. If you don't believe something's possible, if you don't update that blueprint, then you definitely won't get it. But just because you believe it's possible doesn't necessarily mean that you'll get it. So you have to have that blueprint, that future self vision, and then you have to take action. You've got to have a combination of belief and strategy and use them together. So this is the future. This is what I want. This is how I'm going to get there. And I'm going to start taking massive action towards it. And the interesting thing is, for many people, the steps that they think that they're going to take to get there isn't actually how they get there. But if they don't start taking steps towards that, they never get there. So it's kind of this dichotomy where if you don't take any action, you won't get it. So you have to take some action, and the action you take might not be the thing that gets you there, but you've got to take action. And I think it helps create momentum and also helps create an openness. And you can double the effectiveness of this by actually asking yourself how. Like I said earlier, whatever blueprint your mind holds, it's basically like your mind is asking itself, how can I make this real? So you can get really clear on that. You can say, this is what I'm moving towards. This is what I want. And start asking yourself, how can I have this? How can I get there? How can I create this for myself? And so in widening the perspective of this, because I think it's really important to talk about, all the different ways we can use our minds. And one of my favorite things about this journey to what I do now, I'm an RTT therapist and mindset coach, but I don't even know. I feel like there's something beyond that, and just like this this, I don't know what to call it. It's like I'm a lover of the mind, of consciousness, kind of like a nerd about all things to do with what's possible. And in exploring that, I think it's so interesting, all of the different things that are affected by how we think, the pictures we hold in our mind. And so I want to talk about a few of those now. And so one of my favorites is you can use visualization to help you wire in new responses, new behavioral patterns. And so what that looks like is a lot of people will maybe be having a problem with anger, and they'll do all this work and they'll go, I'm working on not getting angry. And I have these tools, maybe I got them from a coach or a therapist or the internet, and I know what I'm supposed to do, but I don't do it. My daughter, my son, my partner says something and it just annoys me so much. And then I get angry and then I think about the tools and then I'm annoyed with myself because I didn't do the right thing. And so this is a great time because the mind doesn't know the difference between what's happening and what's visualized, is to go back, to close your eyes, take a couple of breaths, and re-visualize that interaction with you responding the way that you want to respond, using your tools, doing what you want to, showing up the way that you want to show up, because that can actually literally start to wire in new neural pathways. And if you keep doing that, you're far, far, far more likely to actually respond that way in the future. And this was actually a tool that I used when I was kind of improving my skill in my therapy practice. I'd have when I was much more beginner and I was still learning, you'd see people and there's just this overwhelming amount of information. And afterwards you go, oh, I should have done this, I should have done that. But you can actually close your eyes and visualize, go back and visualize catching all of the things, doing what you wanted to do. And then pretty soon after doing that, I started to respond exactly the way that I wanted to. Another great way to use this is to get really clear on the kind of partner that you want to attract, getting clear on the relationship blueprint of a relationship vision board, what you do want in a partner, what you don't want in a partner, and really just letting that sink in, creating that new filter so that when you meet that person, that kind of person feels familiar to you. Another great way to use this is to intention set. I love to do this at night and in the morning. And this kind of is a double whammy if you do it at that time, because we're more suggestible before we go to sleep and when we wake up in the morning. So before you go to bed is a great time to kind of think about what you're going to do the next day. Even visualize your schedule, visualize waking up, having that morning run, going for that workout, eating that healthy food, and really letting that marinate in your mind, and then sleeping. I find this so powerful for myself and so many clients. You're going to wake up and feel so much more inclined to do it the next day than if you just wake up and go, oh, what do I have to do today? So I love to think about what I'm going to do the next day in the evening, and in the morning, set kind of an emotional intention for the day. So like today is going to be really nourishing, or I am going to show up for my business for 5 hours, and then I'm going to have play, I'm going to have me time, I'm going to do all of the fun things in nature that we as humans should be doing. Another thing is performance. So maybe if you were going to the gym and trying to lift heavier weights, or you're doing something in dance, or you're running, visualizing running further, visualizing lifting that heavy weight, visualizing whatever it is. You can do it over a lot of time or a small amount of time. And again, getting your body ready. It's saying yes to what you actually want. Another really incredibly powerful tool, especially with the sort of awareness of there's something already there and let's put something new in, is using this approach and going through and remapping your relationship with time, with age, and with energy. And so what I mean by that is that many of us have kind of a distorted relationship with time. So if you, for example, were to close your eyes and visualize what a week looks like. I'll give you an example for me. So for me, I used to imagine the weekdays as really short like this, and then the weekends were massive. And for some reason, the weekends always felt like they were over so quickly. And I realized it's because in my mind, I have this distorted perception of time. I feel like the weekend days are so long and the weekdays are so short, but they're not actually, right? Another thing is looking at your actual weekday. And I did this recently. I used to feel like I, had my work day, and then I was like, it's the evening and I have so much time in the evening and I can go for a walk with my dog and relax and watch a show and make some food. And I'm like, oh man, why can I never get to bed on my scheduled bedtime? And then when I actually looked at the calendars, oh, it's actually only a couple of hours and you're trying to do 6 hours of stuff, right? How many of us struggle to go to bed? There's a clue there. Maybe your kind of relationship with how much time is actually there is distorted. And also with long amounts of time and short amounts of time, a lot of us may have heard that saying before, and I think it's so true. We overestimate what we can do in a short amount of time, and we drastically underestimate what we can do in a long amount of time. So just really looking at that relationship that you have with time. Another one is age. And this one drives me crazy. I'm 36, which I think is so young. And I constantly have friends lately that are just turning 30 and they're like, oh, I'm getting so old. My knees are going. I need to get this done. And I'm just like, man, you don't even know. And if you talk to yourself like that, you are going to feel terrible when you get older because we see it. There's people that are like 60 that seem barely over 40. And there's people that are 40 that seem like they're 100. And I think, obviously there's like a lot different parts of the physical diet, lifestyle and everything, but a huge part of it is mindset. There was an amazing BBC study a while ago, and to summarize, they basically took elderly people and they put them in an environment that was similar to when they were young, and they measured all of their biological markers for age before they went in and then afterwards. And many of them showed up on all these tests to be between 10 and 12 years younger afterwards. And all of that comes from your mind because, like I said, there is no drug more powerful than your mind. And finally, energy. And this is a big one because I think that we often in the modern world where we're trying to get so much done, get into this thing of trying to, you know, schedule these really intense days and then getting mad at ourselves because we didn't have the energy to go through it. And I think, looking at that and going, what does my day actually look like? Something that I like to do sometimes with clients is make almost like a heat map of your energy throughout the day. And actually, when this occurred to me once is I saw this girl that I know who's an ex-dancer, funnily enough, and she was saying, every day at 2 p.m., I get this crash and I get tired and I can't have this. And I've been having coffee and tea, but it's not enough. And what do you guys suggest? And there were like literally 50 comments of suggestions of all these like crazy caffeine and energy drinks and things and vitamins and things she could do. And I remember I just wrote her and I said, have you ever, because you're an entrepreneur and you make your own schedule, right? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, have you ever just thought about mapping your day around that? So having almost like a little siesta, just some chill time at 2 p.m. and then either doing more later or earlier, or just shifting your day around to accommodate how you naturally are. And she was just mind blown because, of course, it was the opposite advice that everyone else gave. But it for so many people is really powerful. When I started doing this for myself, I found that to be an amazing thing. So again, being like, what do I imagine my energy is like for the day? And then what is it actually, and how can I resolve those and maybe have kind of a picture in my mind of what it could actually be, what it really looks like. So I feel like it's been me talking for a while and I love answering questions. So I'm just going to come to the chat and see if anyone you can raise your hand and unmute and ask a question, or even if you just want to comment on something. I love the conversational element of these. So I'm just going to come now. Someone said, yes, so true with our distorted view of time. Isn't it funny how that happens? Someone said, I'm 70 and I feel younger than ever. Did cartwheels 2 weeks ago. Yes, age is just a number. Oh, it just popped down. Of years the world has been enjoying you. I love that. Yes, that would be me, 55 going on 40. My friend is 43 and she tells me she's getting old. It's so sad. It makes me so sad when people are saying that. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't, acknowledge where we're at. We can always use our discernment. But I think what a lot of us do is we notice something and then we tell the story of why it is and how it is. And then our ego kicks in and then we make up more stories to validate the way that we're feeling. And now we live in this story. And that might not even be the way you're feeling now. It's the story of the past. And keeping that present is sort of what keeps it alive. And this is something like people ask me about this sometimes. They're like, but isn't it toxic positivity if I'm just positive all the time and I don't acknowledge like what actually is, whatever that means. And it's true. And I think the key to a lot of this stuff is keep asking questions, because I will come back to this, but is is acknowledging what is, but then moving away from it. So I feel this, however, what I want to be is this. I feel this, what I'm choosing is this, right? So, if you have knee soreness maybe one day, acknowledging that and having that, getting really clear on what do I actually want 50, the decade that is 50 to look like? How can I get there? Making that future self vision. How can I make that my reality? Maybe we need to go for some physio. Maybe we need to eat a little bit better. Maybe it's a combination of that visualization, belief, and action, like I said. But it might be that, you just start setting that intention. And because the mind is amazing, that some of that stuff resolves. So, oh, someone said I love it every time I give a talk. Thank you. I appreciate you guys so much. There would be no talks without you here. Yeah, the awareness that we're already doing it. I think that's the biggest thing. And I say that about manifesting too. People will go, "Oh, I'm manifesting this thing, and I did it today, but I didn't do it today. I did it today, but then I didn't do it for a week." And it's no, no. If you whatever you want to call it, if you want to believe it, call it visualization or manifesting. If you want to believe that it comes from neurobiology or from energy, the universe, it doesn't really matter because everybody in all of those places is saying to do the same thing, and that is to focus on what you want. And so to realize that you're always focusing on something. So, it's just like with affirmations. I have a mixed feelings about affirmations because I think some people will, write on the mirror, I'm lovable, I'm worthy, and whatever. But then spend the rest of the day sitting in this story about how they're not good enough and how they hate their life and how they're stressed. And it's what is the dominant feeling, the dominant thought there, right? It's got to be the dominant one is going to win. And if we've carried this our whole life, we've got to really take the time, the effort, the energy to wire in that new story, that new vision, that new way of being. So, yeah. And I think yeah, the realization that your mind is already doing something. And this is the thing too, I think one of the greatest realizations that you'll ever come to in a journey of growth, in a journey of acceptance, is that there is this deeper part of your mind that works a certain way. It's doing all of these things, it's trying to find connection and avoid rejection. It's trying to keep you safe and alive. It's trying to move you towards pleasure and away from pain and do what it thinks you want it to do. And you can't do anything about that. You literally can't change that. There's this part of your mind that's doing these fundamental things that evolved for so many years to keep you alive. But what you can do is strategize and make changes. So, for example, your mind is trying to move you towards pain or towards pleasure and away from pain. You can decide what you attach pain to and what you attach pleasure to. That is where our power is. And if it was just purely willpower and there wasn't this other part of our mind, you wouldn't have these people like doctors that are addicted to sugar or, engineers that can't quit smoking or these really smart, off, intelligent people. And the problem is a lot of those people, because, everyone's vulnerable to a little bit of ego, think it's just me, it's willpower, I can just do it. But when we try to outwill this deeper primal part of our mind, it never works. So once you kind of accept that and realize my mind does have this other part that I'm less aware of, and it is doing all these things, and you accept that, you can start to go, okay, how can I work with this deeper part of my mind instead of against it, which is a huge part of what I do and many other amazing people as well. Good, love the awareness. Yes, someone said when you're visualizing, it's helpful to play inspiring music and good smells. And this is true because our feelings are linked to what we are visualizing. So someone else said imagination is our most powerful tool. Yeah. So we've got some time. So I think why don't we do a little meditation visualization now? So let me just see who I can see here. We're gonna pick one of the four topics. Who prioritize, put your hand up, prioritize is health out of those four categories is the number one thing. One, two. How many people is money, wealth? One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. Okay. How many people is happiness? 3. No one cares about happiness. And how many people's relationship? 1. Okay. So we'll do money, and I'll try and do it. You can pick the other thing if you want, but I'm going to focus on wealth because I know that is like a big one for so many people. So just take a moment and close your eyes. So close your eyes right now and just take a couple of deep, slow, calming, relaxing breaths. Just breathe in and breathe out. And maybe even just becoming aware of your hearing. Notice the sounds that you can hear the furthest away from you. And as you continue to breathe and relax, just notice a closer sound. Really noticing just that sound. And then moving your attention for a moment to the sound of my voice, really noticing the tone, the timbre, before you shift your attention to the sound of your own breathing as you just breathe in and breathe out. And then moving your attention to your skin, becoming aware of the temperature of the air around you. Whatever is supporting your body, whatever you're sitting or laying on. Just noticing where your clothes are touching you. And then just taking your awareness inward, really feeling that sensation of breath in your torso as you breathe in and breathe out. And then just for a moment, holding in your mind the focus of whatever that thing is that you picked, whether it's wealth or something else. Just imagine yourself, maybe 6 months, maybe a year from now, having what it is that you truly want. Just imagine that, having that thing. And now, I want you to imagine where you live. See yourself inside your home. How is that different? Maybe you live somewhere new. Maybe your fridge is filled with different food. Maybe your home is cleaner or different somehow. Really notice, how is your life different having that thing? If you have wealth, what's different? What are you doing that you're not doing now? How do you feel that you don't feel now? Take a moment. Explore. Walk around your life. Look at what you have. Look at who you are. Who are you? Maybe you show up differently. Maybe you behave differently. Maybe you believe something different. What is that belief? What would be that belief that this future version of you would have when you have that thing that you truly want? Really notice, who is that person? What qualities do they have? How do they feel? How do you feel? What does it mean to you? Really feel it. Allow it to become so real in your mind. Feel it in your body. Feel those emotions. Really note. And then just realizing that that vision in your mind is you. It came from you because it's who you truly are. And we're never given a desire without being given the ability to realize. Anything you can imagine, anything you can visualize, anything you can create in your mind, you can make your reality. And so this vision in your mind right now is available to you. It's possible. And just by focusing on, just by allowing yourself to go to this place in your mind, you can return here each and every day. You can create images and put them around your house that remind you of it. Just by focusing on it, you're already taking the first step and moving in that direction. Just take a few more minutes, let that sink in. maybe even making a choice that I want this. I'm choosing to take action towards it. I'm choosing to make this my reality, and I'm choosing to feel great about it. I'm just taking 1 or 2 more breaths and just slowly, calmly, effortlessly coming back to your full awareness, becoming more aware of your body, of the room around you, coming back to your breath, and then slowly, calmly, easily opening back up your eyes. Good. How is that? Good. I see lots of happy faces. That makes me happy. And so really, you can do this yourself. You can do it as much as you want. You can do it for any goal. And yeah, that relaxed state is so powerful as well for really helping us intention set. And so, yes, good. Thank you. I'm so glad. So one last thing I want to talk about is something that I find this for myself before I kind of really figured it all out and started doing what I do full time. I see this with so many of my clients and just people everywhere in life. I feel like personal development is so trendy now. There's so much personal development content everywhere. We're consuming it on the internet. We're reading books. We're listening to seminars and masterclasses. But here's the thing. It is the doing of all of this stuff that makes it work. It's not the knowing. So you can know about this. You can know about visualization. You can know about changing your language. You can know about changing the way you can talk to yourself. You can know about dealing with your emotions. Just like I said, the tool is for anger. But if you don't actually use them, they will do pretty much nothing for you. I think Tony Robbins said, information without action is the beginning of entertainment. And it's so true. If we don't actually do the doing, it doesn't work for us. So one of the things that I've been working on recently is I made a month-long course, which is literally every day it takes about 40 minutes for the onboarding day and then the first day, and then it's about 20 minutes every day for a month. And each day is a video of me with an exercise and a self-reflection. And it literally takes you through retraining the way that you speak to yourself out loud. Week 1 is all about language. Week 2 is all about creating this powerful future self vision, some other really interesting things you can do with it, and then really implementing it in your life. Week 3 is all about understanding your emotions as guidance and getting information from them rather than getting lost in them. And week 4 is all about implementing it in your life long term. And I basically took things that were working amazingly well with my one-to-one coaching clients and I put them in this course. And now I've had people that have gone through it. And so many of them have said, I've done so much personal development stuff in the past, but when I actually did your course, it was the thing that finally made me able to implement it and integrate it into my life. And I really am passionate about making this available to everyone. It's something that I created as kind of a roadmap, a practical step-by-step to the how. And, take just like that commitment, taking that month to do it every day and actually doing the exercises and reflecting and taking a month to really implement a lot of personal development stuff in your life and make it work for you can be powerfully transformative. So you will get a link to that. It's totally up to you. I give you this information with love that you can do with it what you will. That's my masterclass for the power of visualization. I am so, so, so grateful to all of you for joining me. I know that many of you here have supported me in many different ways along the way. So just the biggest thank you in the world. It means so much to me. And goodbye for now.